What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the one and only Michael Balco Show. I'm your host. You already know who it is, but that doesn't matter. Today is not about me. Joining me today is a good friend of mine, native of Erie, PA, and the PA announcer of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Mr. Sean Peebles. How are we doing, brother?
Well done, man. Well done.
How we doing today?
Doing great, man. Yourself?
Blessed and highly favored as always. Excited to share this moment here with you today. We've been waiting on this collab for a hot minute, and it's here. It's here. We're gonna pick your brain. We go way back.
We do.
We've known each other for almost a decade, if not a little longer.
Yeah, we're teetering on that double-digit mark. Yeah,
so flirting with a decade.
Yeah, man. It's been great though, and I'm obviously very proud of you and everything that you've been able to, pull together. And I know great things are still on the horizon for you. So keep pushing it, man.
Likewise, brother.
Yeah,
likewise.
Thank you.
First and foremost, we got to rep the hometown. You were originally born in Newcastle, PA, later moved to Erie, PA after college. What do you love most about the city of Erie, and why did you decide to plant your roots here?
You know what? Really, honestly, what is there to not love about this town? I mean, the people are great. You're right on the lake. The transformation of what Erie once was to what it is now, and you can see the growth happening downtown. There's a lot of great things happening, and it's going to continue to be that way. A lot of great lifelong friends are here, family here. So I'm really there's really not much to not like about Erie. I mean, even people like to complain about the winters and whatever, but that's just part of it, and that kind of builds your endurance. And also makes you appreciate, days like we have today, in the summertime, because there is not a better place in the summertime than right here in the 814. So it's a great place to definitely put the roots in. And it's been home for me for 30 years.
Shout out to the 814.
Yes, sir.
Erie's so good. I love Erie so much. I came from Seattle, Washington to here, and I decided to stay here. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And, you just fall in love with the city. You fall in love with everything about it, even the things people love to complain about. You just kind of grow to love.
But that's everywhere. That's everywhere you go. No matter what city you live in, there's always going to be something that people are going to be like, this is why this place is whatever. Erie obviously is no different, but you look past that because there's so much great stuff happening in this town, and I love to call it home.
Exactly.
Yep.
So tell us about your start in the public addressing game. How did you get into public announcing, and kind of what was the initial attraction to it?
Well, the whole thing kind of came about out of the blue back in '98. I was kind of in the height of my DJ business back then, and friends of mine reached out to me. They owned a gymnastics place. I think they still do up here in town, and they're holding a level 9-10 gymnastics competition at Edinburgh. And they're like, hey, yeah, you Mr. DJ, we need a voice for this event. How do you feel about doing this? So I don't know anything about gymnastics, but sure, I'll give it a whirl. And 2 days, a lot of names that I never thought I'd be able to pronounce. And that was my first official PA thing, but never did anything else again until over 10 years later, when I was asked to announce a Bayhawks game, and then the rest is history from there. And same thing. It was a day of a game, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to step in tonight. You down for it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, okay, let's do this." And I didn't think that there was going to be anything that would come of that. It was just like a one-shot deal, because it was actually close to the end of our second season, and it was just one game. And I thought, okay, well, I guess that's it. Well, fast forward to when the next season started, they were like, hey, yeah, we want you to do that on the regular every game. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And thinking, all right, this is going to be my game night job. And I even left the front office for the Bayhawks a couple years later, went to another career track, and then still stayed on to announce, and basically said, hey, I'm going to do this until they turn the lights off. And then obviously we know something else came along 5 years ago, and I was still able to, keep my commitment to Erie and to the Bayhawks organization, even during, Cav season, and do as many games as I could. And literally I said I was going to be there until they turned the lights off, and, I was.
Yeah. And I like to say you're the voice of Erie, PA sports because, I just always hear your name ringing. The old Erie. Oh, I love it.
I miss that. I really do. I mean, there was so many great memories of game nights downtown at the arena, and the people like yourself and the whole staff and just the fans and just the people you got close to all those years. And it's sad that it's over. But like anything else in life, you hold on to those things in your mind and in your heart, and yeah, you just carry those memories with you because it was definitely a great time of my life.
Most definitely. So after high school, you chose to attend Edinburgh University. What factored into your decision to attend Edinburgh, and how much did the university help you overall in your career and just kind of in your life in general?
Well, Edinburgh had a great radio station and a great communications department, and that's what I wanted to do coming out of high school, was to be like the next big thing in radio. Never really played out that way, but great experience there. And my first class, or one of my first classes when I was a freshman, was actually public speaking, and I was terrified to speak in front of. I wouldn't even be able to do this, let alone speak in front of a couple hundred people, a couple thousand, whatever. And so my time there obviously got me comfortable in communicating, confidence in communicating, clarity in communicating. And the radio thing obviously really helped out, and that kind of also spun into my DJ business that I had for all those years. So my 4 years at Edinburgh really laid a lot of foundation for a lot of things that I did and even still continue to do today outside of like the announcing thing. And more than anything, it prepared me and gave me confidence to be able to speak clearly and publicly and do that, because prior to that I was pretty quiet and reserved, and was afraid to say the word boo. But yeah, no, my time at Edinburgh was great. And again, it's just amazing people, friends that I've made there that I'm still extremely close with today. And a lot of great memories on the airwaves at WFSE FM down there, and an amazing staff. I mean, the professors and stuff that I worked with, I mean, they did everything they could to help me and everybody get their feet into the world and see what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. And I just have a question that just popped up into my head because I've gotten to see you do this in person, and it's incredible. So just for the listeners, how do you, like, whenever you get crazy names up there, like pregame, what do you do to like make it easier for you to be able to like pronounce those names throughout the games? And then what is like maybe one of the hardest names you've ever had to pronounce that you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, knowing who's coming into town, I take a look at rosters in advance. It's just doing your homework, and following the game, you kind of know who's who, even players coming out of college or even through the draft and stuff like that. So you just kind of naturally just kind of figure out, the pronunciation aspect of it. And even obviously with Giannis, that's like the one, people are like, oh, Antetokounmpo or Adetokounmpo, or like, how do you say it? His brother Thanasis, who plays with him in Milwaukee now, actually did play in the G League for a couple years. And so I was actually ahead of the NBA guys because I had him before Giannis got into the NBA. And so it was easy to pick up on that one. As far as other guys that have been kind of like a challenge, again, there's not really one. It's simply because, again, I'm prepared and I do my homework and I'm ready for those. But it's obviously cool because of some of the other projects that I've been involved in and seeing these names. And then when you see them in person or in the roster, you're like, oh yeah, okay, so that's him. And it's really cool seeing those guys, up close and in person. So
Yeah. Yeah. I always loved it because I would always pick on you pregame, especially at the Seawolves. I would go and you'd be like little writing down like little like pronunciation tips and stuff. And it's just really cool. For those of you who are just listening and have never gotten to see a PA guy do it, it's really cool because it's just like you'll write down things and it'll be easier. And then I'll just pick on you, like have fun saying that. And then you freaking nail it. So the joke's on me, which is
well,
fun.
and again, that's all part of just being prepared, for the task at hand, especially with visitors, especially in baseball. You've seen it. One of the first things I do is I'll go to the visitor radio booth and be like, hey, can you help me with this, and this? And because, you want to make sure you get it right, and for all my life, I mean, my name is spelled Peebles, but it's pronounced Pebbles. And so you can imagine how many hundreds of times in my life I've had to correct people. So it's common, it happens, but I also take what I do very seriously, and I'm committed to it, and doing it professional. And those people deserve the respect of having their name said right. I mean, that's the least you can do. Make sure you get their name right.
Yeah, most definitely. And you've landed some pretty crazy gigs as the Erie announcer in general. You've done, I think, every sport. Have you done the Otters?
No, I
The
have
only one
not.
you haven't.
That's the only one I haven't. But I did do a hockey game in Cleveland this past season. My first to my credit. So I've got one under my belt, and I'm hopeful that I'll get a chance to work some games down at the arena, because again, it would just be awesome to sit in there and do that again, because when we lost the Bayhawks, that last night, before the pandemic began, none of us knew that this was going to be the last one that we would ever do there. And so I would love the opportunity to get back in there for sure.
Most definitely. And kind of teeter-tottering off of that, what are some of your favorite memories of your time with the Erie Bayhawks? And yeah, let's just kind of reflect on the Erie Bayhawks as a whole real quick. What are some of the, when you think of the Erie Bayhawks, obviously, there's been so many great memories that you and I have shared. Just in general, the team, you've been there longer than I have. What are some memories that kind of pop into your head as some of your highlights of your time?
I mean, the early years, especially when they were affiliated with Cleveland, was really special. I mean, the tie-ins that we had with them, and even having LeBron as part of our opening video sequence was phenomenal. So just being around that and being a Cavs fan, it was a nice tie-in for me personally. And then again, just the people watching come through town, whether if it's someone in a Bayhawk uniform or someone in an opposing uniform, even coaches that came through, like Christian Laettner came through as an assistant with Fort Wayne years ago, and being a Duke fan, that was a big thrill for me. Obviously, the playoff runs were exciting, packing the arena and having fun, and ultimately winning the division a few years back was special. And every time I walk into the arena now with, for whatever is going on, and seeing the banner up there and knowing that, we were a part of, that season, and so many games, so many, players and friends, the likes of Kyle Goldcamp, Jarvis Gunter, to come to mind as two of the great ones from the early days. And, Ivan Johnson, Blake Ahern, who played with us, and he's now with the Grizzlies, and Mike Gansey, who is now one of the top GMs. He's helping Kobe Altman in Cleveland with the Cavs. I mean, so you just watch where these guys were and where they are now, and officials, referees that started out in the D League when it was still that, in the G League, and they're up now in the NBA, and just seeing what everybody's journey's been has also been really cool. And the memories, there's so many great stories from down there. The school kids jams on how loud that would be at 11 o'clock in the morning, and just great times. And of course the infamous kids wing, and that you obviously were very familiar with, and
too familiar.
But no, just the atmosphere and the fun that we all had as a group was very memorable, and so many great things kind of branched off of that.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm allowed to say it now because the Bayhawks aren't a team anymore, but being the mascot for Bayhawks games was the most incredible thing ever. The last mascot in team history, that was pretty sweet. And like you said, those kids games, some games that kind of pop into my mind are the game after Kobe's death. That was a really special one. That halftime performance with the painting was really cool. And then that playoff atmosphere was electric. I don't think I would ever trade anything like that ever again. You know what I mean?
And that game in 2018, that Eastern Conference championship game that we had at home, and we were this close to getting it, and that would have piggybacked, because the Cavs had just, were finishing up their Eastern Conference championship run as well. So I was about 6 minutes away from working the championship series in both the G League and the NBA. It didn't work out for Erie, but again, it was to your point, the atmosphere and the environment at that time was unbelievable. And I wish we could have done that a few more times, but again, we know the time just ran out.
Might get to do it with the Seawolves this year, man. We'll see.
Yeah, man.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So in 2017, this is the year the magic happened. You were announced as the public address announcer for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was your favorite NBA team growing up. Tell us about that opportunity, how it came about, and how much it meant to you as a lifelong Cavs fan.
Well, we found out about it. It was late, mid-September, I think, when I found out about it. And then I had to do 2 auditions in Cleveland. I honestly, dude, I didn't think I was even going to get a call. Like when I found out about it, I checked what they were looking for, and I'm like, oh, okay, that all this stuff I can do, but there's got to be so many other people out there that are going for this that, I probably don't stand a snowball's chance. And sure enough, I got a call and they're like, hey, yeah, we want you to come over and audition. And there was 5 of us. And we had to go in and do this like a live audition, just do some reads and stuff in the arena, and then come back for another audition where we actually had to call, game stuff. They had like people dressed as players on the court. And a couple of days after that, they called me, and it was the day of their final home preseason game. And like, hey, we had you over here, a couple times, but we didn't get a chance to really get to know you, like, just kind of talk to you and whatever. And so we're on the phone for a good 30 minutes or so. And then they ended the conversation with, offer me the opportunity to be the PA announcer for the Cavs. And it's, I always call it like very similar to what it was like almost 6 years ago Sunday, when the Cavs won the title. It's just like, you don't know what to say. You don't know, like your body just kind of like numbs out, and you're just like in a state of like, no, this isn't real. It's like, the whole pinch me type thing. And growing up as a fan and people knowing how much that organization has been a part of my life. And now I get a chance to be there doing something like this. It was the whole dream come true type of thing is pretty accurate, but I never thought that I would even ever have an opportunity to go after that opportunity. But the door opened and I stepped in and took a swing, and here I am, about ready to enter my 6th season.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that story so much because there's nobody that I can think of more deserving than you. Like I said, the whole Erie, it just, man, hearing that in Cleveland, it's gotta be pretty special for them. Kind of miss it, but it's okay.
And that's another family for me over there, man. From the moment I stepped foot in there, even, when I walked out, just back in April after the play-in game, I mean, everybody there it's a giant family, and everybody looks after one another. And I miss them. Obviously the off season's a long time, and I'm in touch with a few folks during the summer months, but it's everybody else. You get a chance to be back around in the fall, and I don't want to wish summer away, but I really can't wait to see everybody again.
Yeah, we got to enjoy this snowless summer
for sure
here in Erie.
Sure. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So tell us about your Cavaliers fandom and how you grew to love the Cavs and some of your favorite moments as a Cavs fan.
Well, my stepdad took me to my first game when I was a kid, and I grew up. I wasn't really around sports a whole lot initially, and then when he came along, it's like, okay, we get a chance to go to a baseball game in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and then we go out to Richfield and see a Cavs game, and it's kind of like the crowd and the excitement and the noise and obviously the game itself, and that's really when I kind of discovered a liking for the game. And so since like the age of like 10 or 11, as I've been going to games and been a fan. I even have little artwork when I was a kid and like drawing the logo, and Mark Price was my all-time favorite player. And then obviously growing up and going to games through college, seeing some of the greatest ones play, Jordan and Magic and Bird and and Barkley and Karl Malone and Stockton and all those guys. Excuse me. And then when I became older and became a dad, and then being at LeBron's first game in Cleveland, and being there during the playoff run, when they beat Detroit to go to their first finals, and and the whole time in between when LeBron left and came back, and we were at his first game returning, and all those playoff and finals runs, and so many great memories of going over there with with Susan and with my kids, and just taking that all in, and now doing it, yes, as you said, fandom earlier. I mean, still a huge fan, just sitting in a different seat, and I've got to kind of control my emotions and everything, because I have a job to do, unfortunately. But all those other things are still stewing in there because I'm one of the nearly 20,000 that surround me inside the field house in Cleveland. So it's great. It really is great.
That's awesome, man. Like, I couldn't even imagine getting the opportunity to like work for the New Orleans Saints or something like that, and like, it's just crazy that you literally get to, like, you've been a lifelong Cavaliers fan and now you get paid by the Cavaliers to do what you love to do, which is just super awesome. So your first game as the PA announcer for the Cleveland Cavaliers was Kyrie Irving's return to Cleveland. What was that moment like? And what was it like stepping into the queue as an employee rather than a fan?
Well, as I had said, the first day I walked in there, well, ironically, was the day before that game. It was a Tuesday, and that Monday was my first official day on the job. So I had to go over and do all my paperwork and everything. And going back to that family thing I mentioned, folks knew I was coming, and they were like, hey, welcome to the family, welcome to the team. We're so happy to have you. And it's like all this nerves and all this stuff. I'm like, because they picked me, and I'm thinking, there's such big shoes to fill from the gentleman that was there before me, and I don't know what people are really going to think and whatever, because they don't know me from anybody. But they calmed that so quickly just by their welcoming, embrace of me as a part of the Cavs family. And that first night was definitely a treat. The Cavs are coming off of another finals appearance, and you had mentioned Mr. Irving, who had went up to Boston, and this was his first game. And ironically, he was the first player that I introduced as the announcer for the Cavs that night. And knowing that that he was going to be hopefully received, a certain way. But obviously the fans did that a different way. But just still, you're caught up in that moment because, all these players and stuff that you watched either in a seat in the arena or you're watching on TV now are right in front of you, and you have their names in front of you. When that mic goes live, now their names are going to start coming out of here. And Kyrie was the first one. And it was a cool moment. It was a cool moment. And, we obviously, I said it and we just kept moving. But, obviously the nerves and everything that night was at a level that I can't describe. But it went off well. The Cavs won late, and it was a great night. Susan and all the kids were there to support me, and it was very special. And one of those nights I'll absolutely never forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, so you're also the voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers on our favorite game, NBA 2K. Tell us about that experience as a whole. That's one of my favorite stories that I've gotten to talk to you about one-on-one. So tell us a little bit about that whole experience, what you can, of course, and how that came about and what it's like.
Yeah. It's just January of last year, I got an email from the folks with 2K Sports, and they're like, yeah, hey, we're including the announcers in the game this year, and so we obviously are going to incorporate you in from the Cavaliers side. And I'm like, okay, great. And so I got on the phone with them, and I'm expecting they're going to do something like this. We're going to kind of do it remotely or whatever. And they're like, yeah, no, we're going to have you come out to LA for a week, and we're gonna really dig in and do all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay, go to LA in like February. Actually, I flew in the day of the Super Bowl. That was the night before my first day on the job out there. And, we put in a whole week's worth of grind and thousands and thousands and thousands of files, like every name and game situation and, things with a high level of vocal, a low level of vocal, and fouls and all the legends, getting a chance to, to say, Jordan and Chamberlain and Kuzi and Bob Pettit and Kobe. And I mean, the list went on and on and on of the legends I had a chance to say during that recording. And then I had to go back out again and do some touch up in July, and then a game released in September. And I have already been out there this year for 2K23. So that'll be coming out in a few months. So be ready.
They hit you up with the copies?
I got a couple. And I got one up here with me. It's for a PS5. I don't even have a PS5, but it's the coolest system out right now. So I that's the one that I have as my little keepsake.
There you go.
Yeah.
What has it been like to interact with players in Cleveland? And if you're able to share, what are some of the highlights of those encounters?
I mean, usually when I'm around them, not usually when I am around them, it's game day. So they're kind of in game mode. Oftentimes, they'll come by and, at least say hello, fist bump, and a quick hello, but it's not like there's no real conversations like, hey, how's the wife and the kids? Or, I see you got a new truck on Twitter, whatever. So there's not really a whole lot of that conversation. But everybody's usually pretty cool. I did have a really cool interaction with Steph Curry back in the day. I think that was year 2. He just happened to be in there finishing up shoot around, and kind of came over where I was sitting, and we just kind of struck up conversation because Seth played here in Erie for that year, and Dell played for the Cavs, his dad. So we just some real quick little common theme type of conversation. It's really cool, really cordial. That's really the most interaction type thing that there was like a conversation. But like I said, there really isn't a whole lot more than that. Again, just because it's game day, and I respect the fact that they're preparing, and they don't want to talk to me anyway.
Well, they're missing out. They're missing out because this is a good conversation. Good
conversation. No, it's a great conversation. But they got a job to do, and a job that neither one of us can even relate to. The stuff that they're preparing for, and so and I respect that. So get ready and go and play. And if there's a chance you come by and fist bump or whatever, I appreciate the thought. That's for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you ever get nervous before games?
Every game. If you don't, then you need to get out. You have to have the butterflies, the nerves, not necessarily like a lack of confidence or doubt in yourself, but that nervousness, adrenaline, whatever it is you want to call it, you have to have that, because if you don't, then this isn't the thing for you.
Yeah, even like start to finish of my career at the Bayhawks and at the Seawolves, like nerves, man. Like before every game, I'd still get nervous. I'd be like, dang, I really get to just come out here like for a professional team and just do my thing. Obviously, it's not on the same level, but it's ridiculous. Like, and it's true. Like when you start to like lose the nerves, you're just like, what's the point?
Yeah, because that's what drives you. That's what keeps you focused. I've done 214 Cavs games, both preseason, regular season, postseason, and everyone's the same. And when possible, I come home after the games are over. I mean, I get out of there, on a normal night, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm back home 11:30, maybe midnight, depending on traffic. And I'll watch the replay of the game back. Because I am my biggest critic, and there are some times that there is something that I'll say a certain way or whatever that I'm just like, it's cringeworthy for me. Anybody listening or watching or sitting in the arena probably could care less or didn't even catch it, but I know. And so when I'm watching the replays back of the games, at 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the second quarter, I'll know this is coming up, and I'll be like, oh, here it comes, and then, but like I said, it probably doesn't matter to anybody else, but I take what I do very seriously, and they obviously entrust me to do what I do. And so I want to make sure I'm at the top of my game, to make sure that, I'm where I need to be. And because everybody that works so hard over there, the team of people behind the scenes that put together each show for the game, they work so hard, and I need to make sure that I'm honoring my part of that and doing what I'm supposed to do, because there's a lot of pride and preparation that goes into every single game, every single timeout, everything that happens there. So much work goes in it, and I'm beyond blessed and humbled that they entrust me with being a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. What are your top 3 moments behind the mic? Any team, any sport, doesn't matter. What are your top 3 moments that you can think of that you've been a part of, seen, announced behind the mic?
Only 3, huh?
You can give me more if you want.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna, real quick, we're gonna talk Seawolves. I mean, we had that combined no-hitter a couple years ago. I was there for that. Bayhawks wise, I would say, that the Eastern Conference Championship game that we hosted here, the night we clinched the division, was cool. And like we mentioned, some of those playoff games. Cleveland, oh boy, there's a lot. Amazing playoff wins. My first season there, we did go to the finals. We had 2 buzzer beaters in the playoffs that year, one in the opening round against Indiana in game 5, and then a buzzer beater in game 3 against Toronto in the second round. Those were amazing. Obviously, my opening night game, we already talked about that. My first game ever. It was beyond anything I ever experienced. All-Star weekend was really cool. Doing the Rising Stars on All-Star Friday night was a real treat, just because of the magnitude of what All-Star is and the preparation that went into that. Man, oh man, that was an incredible, like the weekend in general was amazing, but when it became my turn to do something as part of All-Star Weekend on the 75th anniversary of the league, and it was a huge thrill for me, and honored and humbled that the NBA again entrusted me to be a part of such a big weekend. And then the play-in game that we just had in April against Atlanta, I truly, that building was moving that night. It was the atmosphere, whatever. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible inside the field house that night. And Cleveland obviously had some bumps at the end of the regular season, and to get into the play-in situation, I wish it would have been a better outcome. But they've obviously set themselves up for some great success this coming year and for years to come. But that play-in night was absolutely, like, there were times where you couldn't even hear me. Like, it was so loud you couldn't even hear me doing the visitor intros. So the electricity was absolutely off the charts. Absolutely off the charts.
Yeah, I could only imagine, because Hawks came out with the dub, but it's okay. It's all right.
It's all right.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that much more.
No, we don't have
One last question for you, Sean. Any advice for those out there chasing their dreams, regardless of what the career field is, regardless if it's a sport, if it's in your field? What's some advice you can kind of pass along to people listening?
Well, I mean, use you for an example, because you said just not even 10 minutes ago about how great it would be to work for the Saints. I mean, there really is nothing that can prevent you from working for the Saints except for you.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's something you really, really want, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't know that this was going to be something I'd be doing at this phase of my life, but it just kind of worked out, and it happens to be with the team that I love and adore more than anything in this world when it comes to sports. And obviously, the Saints are that for you. So if that's something you really want to take a run at, then you take a run at it. You network with people. You find your way in. And opportunities can open up, and you've obviously proven. When you set your mind to something, like with what you're doing with this, it's going to take off, and it has. And you've had some great things happen because of this for you personally. And you're still a young guy, and hey, dude, I'm old, and stuff still does happen for old people. But other advice is, again, just network and meet people. Don't be afraid to ask a question, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And
exactly.
Yeah, just put in the grind, man, and don't think, like, my attitude was when I found out about the position in Cleveland. It's like, okay, I qualify, but I just don't know. And funny how things work out, and it can happen. It really can. You just have to positive attitude and put in that grind, man. And good things do happen. Sometimes maybe not necessarily on our timing and our terms. But that's not what life is. Life isn't about what and how we want things to happen. It's about when they're meant to happen. And the one thing you don't want to do is force it, but you also have to put in the effort to get the ball moving. And for you, I mean, there's no reason why you can't find your way into New Orleans.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? I guess.
Well, why not, bro? Hey, it does happen. It does happen every day. So why not you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode with my good friend, Sean Peebles. Thank you so much for hopping on the show today, man. It was a pleasure getting you on. You're the first ever NBA themed episode on this show. So
I'm honored, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys go follow Sean on Twitter @CavSean. Follow him on other social medias as well. I'll link them in the description of this episode. Thank you once again, Sean, for hopping on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.